Welcome to Live Daf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to today's Daf Hayomi, which is Maseches Nedarim Daf Chafei. We are holding on the second line from the top of the Amud. So yesterday we discussed Nidrei Havai and Shvois Havai. Havai meaning an exaggeration, a bloated expression of what happened. And we learned that, it's just a mode of conversing. Nobody's taking you seriously to the extent that every word you say is 100% accurate. It's just the way people speak. They tend to bloat things a bit, to expand it, and to exaggerate. The Gemara had a kasha. Who's to say we call it an exaggeration? So this fellow got stuck in traffic. He says, "Wow, Oile Mitzrayim, you had 600,000 people there. It's Havai, exaggeration." How do you know? Perhaps he noticed this massive gathering of ants, and he labeled them Oile Mitzrayim. Answer is, you cannot just do that. You can't just take terms, expressions, words, and distort them according to your wishes. When you express words, they are meant to be understood the way they are commonly understood, the way they are universally interpreted. You can't just create your own language. Black means white. In your mind, white means black. It doesn't work. And therefore it's called Havai, an exaggeration, because it's not really a reflection of true reality. Asks the Gemara, really? Is that so? A person can't just use words at whim, just reinterpret things in his mind and converse using his own, so to speak, language? Really? Second line from the top. A person may not make a shvua by way of just reinterpreting things at will. Vatanya, we have a brisa which seems to indicate that we are very concerned about that very possibility, that a person will manipulate his words and use them to describe things that he's thinking in his language. The brisa says, Kishen mashbin oisai. When the Beis Din will impose a shavua on a litigant, they tell him as follows: look, oimrim loy, heavy a day, you should know, we're not applying a shvua to you based on your understanding. All sorts of conditionings going on in your heart, all kinds of interpretations that you may be thinking. No. Elal datenu, rather it's based on our perception, on the way we perceive those words, well, that's Beis Din, and the way Hashem perceives it, the Beis Din shel Ma'ala. That's what we tell this fellow. Now, what are we trying to address? What are we trying to avoid? What's the concern here? It's based on our perception and not what? Lav lafuki. Apparently, it's coming to avoid the following. The asiklahu iskundri. Iskundri are little pegs, little wooden slugs. So this fellow owes money to his creditor. He got a hold of these slugs, gave them to his creditor, and he's considering them zuzim. Va'asik lahoin shma. And now he's applying to them the following title, the name Zuzi. And when he swears that he gave him 100 zuz, zuz in my mind is just a slug. Perhaps that's what he's thinking. And that's why he's going to swear as such, that he gave him the zuzi, although he never really gave him money. Well, zuzi in my language means wooden pegs. And apparently we are very concerned about that possibility. Why? The fact that we have to warn him, look, your words will be interpreted based on our perception, based on our understanding, not yours. Why do we have to tell him that? Michlal, apparently the Ovid inish the Mishtah, apparently. Because a person can do that. He can take words and use them as he wishes. And that's why we have to tell him, well, in this case, it doesn't work. But typically, you can. You can make it a shvua using all types of words and twist and turn them based on your wishes and understandings. Really? Says the Gemara, not so fast. Loi. Perhaps that cannot be done. Rather, when you use words, they are understood the way they are universally understood, not personally understood. So why then do we have to warn this fellow that we are imposing on him a shavua based on our perception, not his? What's the point of saying that, if in any case he can't twist it around? The answer is, although in terms of strictly interpreting words, you can't manipulate, you can't distort, you can't retranslate. But when it comes to context, when it comes to contextual settings, that can be manipulated somewhat. La fuki mikanya derava. We're going to avoid a situation comparable to the story of Rava's kanya. Kanya is a reed. A reed used as a walking stick. What happened over there? Dahu Gavra. There was a fellow Reuven. Dahava Masik B'Chavri Zuzi. He had a claim of X amount of money against his friend Shimon. So Shimon owed Reuven money, and he admitted to a partial payment. Also, so he came to Rava. Amalei leleiva. So the Malva tells the leiva, Zil Parali, please pay up. Amalei Praticha. The leiva says, I paid you. I paid you part of the money. So now he's a moed b'miktzas, and he has to go do a shavua. Amalei Rava imkein zil ishtamalei de parate. Okay, so then Mr. Leiva, go make a shvua that you paid him up. Okay, Ozal va'aisi kanya. What did Shimon the Leiva do? He pulled a ruse. He got a kana. And he deposited coins therein, concealed from view. And he was sort of leaning as he was walking, leaning on this walking cane as he was coming along. And came along with it to the Beis Din. So he turns to the Malva with this innocent looking face. He says, could you just take this walking stick for a minute while I take the Sefer Torah to make the Shvuah? Please hold on to my walking stick so I can take the Sefer Torah. No Sefer Torah. So he clutched the Sefer Torah. He made a Shvuah that he paid him. Called the Maidahava Leviyade. Everything that Reuben had claimed against him, he paid him back. The amount that he admitted. That's all you had by me. Right? So that's the halacha. A person admits to 50 out of 100. He says, yeah, I paid you everything that I owed you, and that's it. In reality, he owed him 100. But the other 50, which he had not yet paid him, was sitting in that cane, which were now in whose hands? The hands of the creditor. So his shavua was really a shvuas emes, was genuine, was a true shavua, because he had paid him back clandestinely. Unbeknownst to the Malva, he had already been paid back. He was holding on to the money in his hands. Hahu Malva, this Malva seeing his Leva sort of swearing falsely, Rogas, he went into a fit of rage. Meshaber Kalim B'chamasai, V'tavrlo Kanya, and he smashed the cane. V'yishtapech hanuzuzi lara, and suddenly coins are rolling on the ground. V'yishtakech t'kushta yishtapech. It turns out that Shimon swore the truth. So due to this concern, says the Gemara, the Beis Din will warn a swearer, look, no monkey business, no playing games. So although he can never take words and retranslate them in his mind, and that's a non-starter, of course. When you speak words, it's the way we understand the words. But in terms of context, in terms of the circumstance, he can manipulate, such as in the story when he pretended to have paid back the money because he really gave it to him in that cane. So to preempt that type of situation, we tell him, look, it's the way we perceive things, not the way you perceive it. So that would circumvent this situation of Kani the Rava, because that's not really called paying him back, right? Although technically it was sitting in his hands, but in our minds, from a legal point of view, you haven't really paid him back, and that's what we're going to impose a shvuah about. You can't play games in that regard. It's interesting that the Ran has a girsa that he made a shvuah. So in our Gemara, it's ishtaba the pare that he paid him up. The Ran is girsa the haves lachzus, that I gave it to you, because he says technically he never really repaid him. The Malva never received the money. At least, he wasn't aware of the fact that he got the money. He didn't really take it as payment. He was physically in possession of that money, but never really received it as payment. So to use the word pare, that I repaid him, that would be false. He said, the Yahavit, I gave it to him. And, the Bezdin didn't really, pick up on that discrepancy of language, and they allowed him to go through. And it turned out that he pulled a fast one. Listen to this. There's a Shita Mekubetzes who has another interesting twist on the story. He says that what happened was that Rava had some sort of, like a chain of some sort, which was this mystical, thing that he had, that if you had a shvuah and you made a shvuah sheker, you couldn't touch the top part. It just wouldn't work. It's like a polygraph test. You couldn't get to the top of the chain. And this fellow made the shvuah, and he went over to the chain and he touched the top. And that's what really got the Malva burning mad. You made a shvuah sheker and you're pretending that you were speaking the truth. That got him all mad, and he cracked open the thing and he found the coins. So bottom line is, you can't really distort words, but you could manipulate context, as in the story of Rava, and that's why we try to preempt that by warning him against it. Asks the Gemara, really? You can't just distort words? A person can't make a shvuah based on his way of interpreting and translating words. We have a bris. We find the same with Moshe Rabbeinu, when he imposed the shvuah on Klal Yisrael to reinforce their commitment to Torah. He tells them, let it be known to you, my shvuah is not based on your perception. It's on my perception and based on Hashem's perception. Where do we find this? In the pasuk. It's not just the way you understand it, it's the way it really is meant to be. That's how I am applying this shvuah. No, what was he worried about? They're going to translate words? I thought you can't do that. My Amarlu Moshe Yisrael. What was he trying to preempt here? Lav Hachik Amarlu. Apparently he was telling him like this. Dilma Avrisen Mila. Perhaps you'll violate transgressions. Varmisen, and you'll defend yourself by saying, you'll justify by saying, Al Da'atenu. Although we accepted the Torah, it says don't eat chazir. Well, chazir in our minds means a rock. It means a camel. So we're free to eat chazir. That's why he had to warn them against retranslating words in the Torah. It's based on my understanding, on Hashem's understanding. So you see that one can sort of custom make a shvuah according to his taste and his translation. Moshe Machi Amrlo al dati. That's why he had to condition it. It's based on my understanding. Lafuki Mai, what was he trying to address? Lav Lafuki, apparently, he was trying to circumvent a situation where they would say like this: Da'asiku shma la'avodas kechavim Eloiha. That they'll go worship idols and they'll say, well, avodah zarah, that's Eloiha. We committed to serving Eloiha. This is it. Apparently, a person can tailor his shvuah according to his wishes. Loi, says the Gemara. Here, actually, they would have a point. Because we find elsewhere in the Torah that this title, Eloha, can be a reference to Avodah Zarah as well. So if they were to argue as such, their argument, their claim would be substantiated, would have basis. Right? So the gods of Mitzrayim are called the Lehei Mitzrayim. So to address that concern, which was a real legitimate concern, it's not manipulation, it's not retranslation, it's a legitimate interpretation of the word Aleha. To address that concern, they might pervert it in favor of Avodah Zarah. He had to state that statement, look, it's being done according to my conditions, according to my perception and Hashem's. Well, says the Gemara, there was a much easier way to get around that. V'lash b'yosain, you should just impose on them a shvur, the kamisun mitzvahs, that you'll keep the mitzvahs. This ensures that they keep all the mitzvahs the way they're meant to be kept. Answers the Gemara, mashva mitzvahs or mitzvahs hamelach. Mitzvahs or mitzvahs can be a reference to the king's laws, not necessarily the Torah laws. You can just tell them they have to keep all the mitzvahs. Answer is, mashma mitzvahs tzitzis. All the mitzvahs is perhaps a reference to a very special mitzvah, mitzvah tzitzis, which the Gemara in Menachos says is a chosem avdus. It's like a badge that a servant wears to show his subservience to his master. It indicates commitment. It's shakel, it's equal in value to all the mitzvahs. So perhaps called mitzvahs is that special one mitzvah which equals all mitzvah tzitzis, and that's it. The Amar Mars, we learn shkula mitzvah tzitzis kneged kol mitzvah shabbat mitzvah tzitzis is valued like all the other mitzvahs. So saying kol mitzvahs wouldn't indicate more than tzitzis. That's not an option. Let him enswear them to keep Torah. Well, mashma Torah achas. Singular could be just one, Torah shebeksav or Torah shebal peh. We want both. That's not an option. V'lash b'yosoin, the mekayim Torahs, mekayim Torahs. Okay, keep both Torahs. That wouldn't work either. That wouldn't suffice, because we find that the Chumash refers to the parsha of Karbonos with a lashon of Torah. It can mean mashma Torahs mincha, Torahs chatas, Torahs asham. So Torahs can be a reference to those discussions about the Karbonos, but not more than that. So that's not sufficient. Here's another option. Tell them to keep Torahs and mitzvahs. So together, the Gemara figured it means the entire Torah. Well, not necessarily. If we break it up, we could say Torahs means the Karbonos, mashma Torahs hamincha. And the word mitzvahs, again, could be mashma mitzvahs hamelach, or mitzvahs hamelach. What about v'lish b'yasoin? The mekamisan Torah kula, the entire Torah. You covered it all. Answers the Gemara, Torah kula mashma v'etz kechavim. Here as well, perhaps it's a reference to a very special avera. Keep away from avodah zarah, which negates the entire Torah. Sanya, chamur avodas kechavim. Avodas kechavim is so harsh. Shekol hakayfer ba, one who rejects avodah zarah, kilo moide b'Torah kula. It's as though he committed himself to the entire Torah. So perhaps when you speak about keeping the entire Torah, it's keeping away from avodah zarah, which negates the entire Torah. Well, v'lish b'yasoin demekamisun avodas kechavim v'Torah kula. Okay, keep avodah zarah and the Torah. So you covered it all. Inami, or you can say simply 6:13. Sheish meis u'shleish esrei mitzvahs. You're right. He could have said this, he could have said that, but he chose to say leitchem levadchem, very short and to the point. Ela Moshe Rabbeinu milsa delay tricha naka. They didn't want to make it long and complicated in detail, so he kept it short and to the point. But at the end of the day, his concern was not that they would just translate words. You can't do that. Words are to be used the way they are universally understood. Rather, the concern here was that they could have simply directed the shvua in another direction. Mitzvahs hamelach, teres hamincha. Therefore, he had to speak in this manner. Well, you should know it's based on my perception. You are swearing in accordance to what I and Hashem Yisbarach have in mind. Actually, there's a girsa, in the beginning of the Brisa, it says that he's be mashpia, ella Al das hamokim ve'al dati. So you put Hashem first, of course. Okay, so back to the Gemara here, which refers to the Mishnah of Nidrei Havai. He's totally exaggerating. What did he see? He saw a huge snake. Im l'reisi nachash k'koresh beis habad. V'loi? You never find a humongous snake. V'chivya, there was this huge snake. Dava b'shnei Shvar Malka, in the days of this king Shvar Malka. Ramu leitleisar ar vasa. They fed him 13, stable fills of the tivna of hay. Ubala Saine swallowed them all. Pretty large creature. So it's not something impossible. Amashmol b'taraf. The point is not necessarily size, rather we're speaking about a snake which he claims to have had ridges, it had bumps. Well, kulu nachshi, mitrav tarfi, all these snakes have bumps. Agaboy torav kamrin, I'm not speaking along the neck, which is common, rather along its back, which is uncommon. So that's the anomaly here. The snake full of ridges along its back. Well, if that's the unusual aspect of the snake, let the Mishnah say so. Listen, Torah. The Mishnah should say, I saw a snake which was Torah, full of ridges. What's the connection to Oila Kuras Beis Habad? Answers the Gemara, Milsa Agav Urchi Kamashmon, as we find many times, the Chachamim teach us something sort of by the way. Along this halacha, we learn another interesting fact. Kamash Malon, the Kuras Beis Habad, Gaboy Torah. This fellow who compared the ridged snake to the beam used in the olive press indicates to us that an olive press is meant to be ridged, which allows it to grip the olives. L'maynaf Kamina, what's the point of mentioning this? For Choshe Mishpat purposes. L'mekach Memkar, regarding transactions. Loy Melacha, which indicates to you that if a person sells the pressing beam, if it has a ridged back, it's legitimate, it's an effective piece of equipment. But if it's missing the ridges, loy, then no deal. Continues the Mishnah along the list of the 4 Nedarim which have no meaning, have no value. We discussed 2 out of 4. We had Zeiruzin, Havai. Here comes number 3 on the list, Nidrei Shegagais. A nether uttered inadvertently. So what happened? Imochalti. This loaf of bread should be usher if I had breakfast today. I drank my coffee. And then what happens? A minute later he says, oh, I forgot I had my breakfast. Something which he totally forgot when he made that nether. That's a nidrish gaga. It wasn't well researched. He wasn't mindful of what he was saying. Another example is, Shani Eichel Shani Shoy said, this should be usher if later on I'll have my lunch, I'll have my drink. So the later meal will trigger the Isser. What happens later? He totally forgot that he made this commitment. V'shachach v'achal v'shasa. He forgot about his commitment. He sat down to his meal. That's called nidrei shegagais. It does not activate any nether. Another example. Omar, he says, Koinam ishti nenesli. My wife can't have any mohana from me. Why? Look what she did. She kisi. She grabbed my money pouch. She took my credit card. She b'ni. She struck my child. And it turns out it never happened. V'noida, it was discovered shlei kato. She didn't strike him. V'noida shlei ganva. She didn't steal. That's a nidrei shegagais, which has no legal standing. Another example. Ra isan oichlim te'enim. He notices a group of people chomping away at his figs. V'amar, he says, well, harayin alechem karban. You think you're enjoying my figs? It's actually going to be usher to you like a carbon. And what does he discover? V'nimtzu aviv v'av achiv. He comes closer, and who does he see? His own relatives, his father, his brother. V'hayu imoyin acherim. And there were others there as well. So he certainly regrets having applied a neder to his father and brother. That's called nidrei shegagais. What about the rest of the crew? Does the entire neder fall away, or does it stand regarding the other people? We have machlekes. Your relatives, they're okay. There's no neder applied to them. He didn't have them in mind. But the other people with him, asurim. The neder sticks for them. It's either all or nothing. In line with the klal that we learned in Nafgimel, neder shebatla miktsase batla kulei. When a part of the neder is nullified, the entire thing falls. Eilu mutar, and therefore all people there are mutar. Tana, we learned in the Brisa. Kishem shenidrei shgagus mutar. Just like a neder expressed with a shgaga is mutar, kach shvua is shgagus mutar. Is likewise if he says a shvua based on a inadvertency, it is mutar. Could I have an example of such? Heichi damu shvuah shogeg, says the Ran. We have many examples of shvuah shogeg, but the Gemara will highlight to us to what extent, look how far this halacha can go. This is an extreme example of a shvuas shogeg. Kigoyin Rav Kahana, v'Rav Asi. They were both Talmidim of Rav. And at times they would make a shvuah to reinforce their interpretation of Rav's words. Hadei Namar, one of them says, Shvuasa, by swear, by shvuah, De'ochem Rav. I'm telling you, this is what Rav said. Hadei Namar, his opponent would say just the opposite. Shvuasa, De'ochem Rav. I swear that Rav said the opposite. And the Ran explains, although each Talmud already warned the other Talmud, you're wrong, you're wrong. He totally ignored. He did not heed to the warning. He made a shvuah. We consider that ish shogeg, the kol chad v'chad adata de nafshei shaper k'mishtaba, because each Talmud thinks in his mind that he's swearing properly. So although in reality one of them is wrong, no worries, it's called nidrei or shvuos shegogos. Ra'is and oichlin, tana an hosam, we learned in the Mishnah. So in contrast to our Mishnah here, which presents examples of nidrei shegogos, he said one thing, he meant something else. He thought something happened, it didn't happen. Those are shegogos. Reality turned out to be different than what he had in mind. In the next Gemara, we're going to have a Pesach, meaning it was a proper neder. He said no wine throughout the year. But then the Chacham asks him, did you realize that you won't be able to have your wine or meat on Shabbos and Yom Tov? And that's not allowed. You're not meant to pain yourself on Shabbos and Yom Tov. That can be used as a Pesach to release him of that neder. So it's not nidrei shegogos, because after all, when he made a neder, no wine throughout the year, he was fully cognizant that there are Shabbos in the midst of that year. He included the Shabbos. It wasn't a shogeg. It wasn't something which he was unaware of. But nevertheless, a Pesach can be applied here. Look, realize, open your eyes. You can't do this to yourself on Shabbos. Oh, if I would have paid attention to that aspect, to the impropriety aspect of it, then I would have backed off. That's a Pesach. Now comes the question. So Shabbos is sort of rescinded. What about the rest of the year? Tanan Hasam, Poischem b'Shabbosos, Ubiyavim Tovim. We can use Shabbos and Yom Tov as a Pesach. But initially they would say, Oisan Hayamim Mutarim. So going forward, you can have your wine on Shabbos and Yom Tov. We release that part of the neder. But throughout the rest of the week, it's asur. Your neder stands with respect to the rest of the week. So even half a neder can stand. Rabbi Kiva came and taught us like Beis Hillel. Neder shota b'ktsasai. Hutar kulai. Once you release, once you cancel, you nullify part of a neder, such as the Shabbos and Yom Tov aspect of this neder, everything becomes batal. Okay, we'll continue Be'ez Hashem tomorrow. Let's just recap. When a fellow makes a shvuah, he cannot take words and just manipulate them and retranslate them based on his wishes. But in terms of context, in terms of circumstance and setting, such as the Kanya the Rava, you have to be careful that he doesn't mislead us, and therefore you warn him in advance, you're going to be doing this based on our perception. We find the same with Moshe Rabbeinu, who is careful to tell them it's all based on the way Hashem and myself understand things. Otherwise, there was a concern of misinterpretation. And we learned about Nidrei Shegogos. The Gemara tells us it applies to Shavuos as well. We had several examples, and according to Beis Hillel, which was actually presented by Rabbi Kiva as well, we know that once part of a neder becomes batal, whether it's because it's a shogeg or because there was a Pesach found to undo it, the entire neder goes out the window. Be well always, and Hatzlacha Rabbah.